Thought we would put it in your head early. It's hard to believe, but just 1 month from tonight, we will be hearing that music for real. The Winter Olympics will be underway from Pyeongchang, South Korea, 50 miles, give or take, from North Korea, which makes this an ideal time for the North and the South to hold their first face-to-face meeting in over 2 years. The meeting will determine whether the North can send a delegation to the Games. Many people believe it would be good if the North had a stake in the Games, actual skin in the Games, as it were. Many believe talks of any kind will have a de-escalating and calming effect. Wall Street Journal says this, quote, diplomats suspect North Korea's engagement with South Korea is an attempt to drive a wedge between Seoul and its American allies, thereby reducing the possibility the U.S. could take any kind of military action against Pyongyang. And on that front, the Journal also has this nugget, which should be of interest to everyone in the peace-loving world. Quote, U.S. officials are debating whether it's possible to mount a limited military strike against North Korean sites without igniting an all-out war on the Korean peninsula. Well, with us to talk about all of this, retired four-star U.S. Army General Barry McCaffrey, decorated combat veteran of Vietnam, former battlefield commander in the Persian Gulf, and these days an MSNBC military analyst. And Nayyera is back with us, former White House senior director and former State Department senior advisor. Welcome to you both. General, you first. Is there such a thing as a limited military attack on a nuclear nation with a grudge?
I think not. These dialogue, North and South, is probably useful. You know, it signals they're in a phase that they've run this for 40 years now, of provoke the U.S. and South Korea, then negotiate, then get a reward, and then provoke again. So I think that's what's happening. But the thought that we could go after the so-called bloody nose option and strike a missile site, we should expect there'd be a unbounded reaction from North Korea. Artillery strikes on Seoul, their subs would put to sea. We're not going to do that. I also don't think we're going to make a major conventional attack to try and take out most of their nuclear capability. We'd get 90% of it, but we'd never get all of it, and we never know where it would all be. So I don't think we have a likelihood of the U.S. preemptively carrying out preventive war. What might happen is miscalculation, particularly if the president keeps goading this young despot who's unsettled on his throne.
Nayyera, are talks of any kind by nature good? Should people have warm feelings seeing that handshake?
I don't know about warm feelings, but I think we can all breathe for a moment, and that's what our South Korean friends have done for us. And it's clear that the South Koreans have bought us some breathing room, not Donald Trump, in the way that he's been tweeting and provoking the leader of North Korea. The idea of potentially sports diplomacy, this is the entire purpose of the Olympics, to bring all of the nations together, but it's bought us a few more weeks during which the South Koreans may be able to open a channel for direct conversation and diplomacy. Unfortunately, Donald Trump himself has poo-pooed the idea of ever having conversations, and it's going to rely on our military and other folks on the ground, limited resources that we have. Let's note, we do not have a U.S. ambassador in South Korea right now. So who will actually do any of the follow-through that South Korea has opened for us? Unclear, but there is an opportunity that we should not be missing.
General, it is rather stunning that that diplomatic post is unfilled. But let me ask you what you think. A dual question. What do you think should be U.S. strategy for the next 6 to 12 months? And does the president have the message discipline to step away from his phone and not screw that up on Twitter?
The latter part, very unlikely. I think the president's demonstrated that he's impulsive, that he's not well grounded on these issues, that he's inadequately, in the view of many of us, frightened at the thought of military action that could conclude with a nuclear exchange. So I think we're in a very tricky situation. In the coming 24 months, the North Koreans are going to finish a credible ICBM program. They'll end up with 20 missiles with thermonuclear devices on them. So I think there's no longer even a binary choice. We're going to have to learn to live with a lethal threat from the North Koreans. And by the way, they'll use it, not just to prevent aggression against North Korea, but to use it as leverage in their regional dealings. So we're about to enter 15, 20 years of some peril to the American people. We got to get ready. We got to mitigate it. We have to invest in ballistic missile defense. We have to isolate them, and we have to push the Chinese, who couldn't possibly want a major war on their frontiers, to help us constrain the North Koreans.
Nayyera, I need 30 seconds of sheer brilliance when I ask you, is it a good thing if the North is involved in the Olympic Games? Is that by nature a good thing?
Let's hope that with having their own athletes and representatives there, they will not launch any type of attack on South Korea or the United States. At the end of the day, any nuclear attack, any attack by the United States on North Korea will hurt the millions of South Koreans first and foremost.
As I said earlier, skin in the game, quite literally in this sense, should be a good thing for all. Our thanks, General Barry McCaffrey, to Nayyera Haq. Thank you both for being with us on a Monday night.